Kristen Hatton. Welcome to the Compare To podcast.
Heather, thanks for having me. I'm excited about this conversation we're going to have.
Me too. It was fun. We got to meet a couple years ago at the In His Image conference in Dallas. You're a fellow Texan,
Yes.
and you've got quite a story. And I'm excited because you're going to come do 2 episodes. You're going to come back and we're going to have another conversation where we're talking about how to help our kids with body image issues, food issues, all those things. And I know that's part of your story. We're going to save that part of your story, though, for Friday's episode.
Okay.
And what I'd love to hear today is just what do you do? Maybe a little bit. How did you get to this place of, I know you do, you're a counselor, but talk
Yes.
to us about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. And actually, my daughter's struggle with an eating disorder is indirectly what led me to going back and getting my degree in counseling.
Yeah.
So just her journey, I wanted to be able to be equipped to help
Mm,
other moms and people struggling, not just with
yeah.
eating disorders, but just struggling.
Yeah.
But I am a pastor's wife. So even before getting my degree in counseling, I've been doing lay counseling for years and years.
I
I
know
am
that story.
Yes, you do. That's right. I'm a newish, still empty nester mom. I have 3 kids. 2 of them are married now. I cannot even believe it. So I now have a son-in-law and a daughter-in-law.
Wow.
My youngest is in college, and my kids were really raised in Oklahoma, where my husband had planted a church. And then after the youngest graduated from high school, we moved back to Texas and are back actually at the church where my husband and I met when
Oh,
we were in
wow.
our early 20s.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, I'm so glad you're here today. You can bring us a counselor's perspective, a mom's perspective, a woman's perspective, right? Because this is just like something that we all deal with.
That's right.
But we're talking about moms this month, and we're kind of handling it from 2 different angles, right? There's our mom issues, and then there's those of us who are mothers, kind of the way that we challenges we face in interacting with our kids. And this topic, I don't know, might be a little bit of both, right? But I believe, and I'm curious to see if you agree, I believe that when we have body image issues and then we have children,
Hmm.
there are some ways that those body image issues kind of filter out onto them. Or maybe even a better way to say that is they come out in our parenting, right?
That's right. I
There,
agree.
you agree? Okay, so what comes to your head right off the bat when I say that?
Well, I am thinking about if I believe that I need to fix or control or shape my body, then that is probably not the only area of my life that is fleshing out.
Mm.
So, and I know you talk about this on other podcast episodes that I've listened to, but I think it goes back to that ruling idol. Like,
Yeah,
what is controlling us? Why do I feel like
yeah,
I need to fix or control my body? Because now, functionally, like that's my savior. Like I'm looking to the perfect body, perhaps for my identity, life, enoughness to fill the hole in our soul,
right,
however we want to say it.
right.
But so if that is the case, it's going to pop up in different areas of our life. So now
Yeah,
all of a sudden we have children, and our children can so easily become extensions of us, of our identity. And so if you peel the layers back to see what's beneath that trying to have the perfect body, we might also find, that now we need our kids to be perfect
mhm,
because we've tied our worth to their performance and their appearance. And I mean, the idols can be numerous. It could be,
right.
we've made ourself, our appearance, an idol. Like we're longing to be glorified by others or seeking others' opinion, that we want others to think highly of us. And so what happens as a mom, if our child acts bad, then we look bad. And so we demand their perfection.
Right.
And that fear of man, we worry
Yeah.
about others. What will they think if they see us not as perfect?
Right. Well, and okay, so for you and I, right, as pastors' wives, I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know how you felt, but when we planted, because was your first church when you planted?
We had done college ministry for, it was our first, I mean, we've only done one church plant, but we've been
Okay.
in ministry for a lot of years before that.
Okay. So planting a church, right? It's not like there was a pastor's wife who was already there. I didn't have to like fill anyone's footsteps, right? And a lot of the people we drew early on were unbelievers, like people that were unchurched that didn't really have expectations for a pastor's wife. But growing up in church, right? Like thought I knew, like what a pastor's wife was supposed to look like. And I was deep in my issues then, Kristen. But I really felt like, as the pastor's wife, right? I had to set the example. My house was supposed to always be clean, and my children were supposed to be well dressed and behave well as we entered church. And I mean, there was all of these just different layers of pressure. And I know everyone listening out there is not maybe in that same boat, but I think we can say that about anything, right? I've got friends who have husbands with like, executive positions that would say, well, an executive wife, like, their children are supposed to look like this or act like this, right? It's these extra pressures we put on
I agree. But I
ourselves.
think even just as a believer in general, we think that
Yeah,
this is what a good Christian would do or not do.
that's
Um,
good. Yeah.
and so often, specifically with being a pastor's wife, but again, I think just as just a Christian in general, other people put those like
Mm,
expectations on us. So even if
right.
I don't feel like, if I know if I'm resting in my justification, and yet other people can be looking at me like, oh, I can't believe she let her kids do that.
Mhm.
And so that does get tied up into, then we feel like, other people don't admire us or they think poorly of us because of
Yeah.
how we're parenting or not parenting.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I mean, really, to some degree, right, it comes down to control, right?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, you
So
mentioned it,
often
like
the
your
bottom
person's
line idol, right? For
right,
moms, so often.
right,
Control.
right. I mean, well, I don't know. This is necessarily a great illustration of control, but I remember. So I feel like part of my story is there was a lot of control coming from mom around the way I looked, and I shared some of that in last week's episode. But with my kids, right, and I only have one daughter. I was determined not to follow the same pattern. Right, like, that's not gonna be me. But Kristen, I remember it was Easter Sunday, and my daughter had her new Easter dress, and she was probably, I'm talking like 3 or 4 years old, like, little, and she came out to our minivan after church, and my first question to that girl on Easter Sunday after church was, "Did everyone tell you you looked pretty?" And she looked stunned. She was like, "I, uh, I what?" Like, she didn't have an answer for me. And then I went to like, oh no, now I've just given her reason for insecurity because no one told her she looked pretty. And I've just like set that as the bar of what should happen to a little girl on Easter Sunday when she's all dressed up, right? But like that, it's weird. That's a core memory for me because I'm like, wow, what am I doing?
Yeah. I think
What
we
am
can all identify with that too. And I mean, if you peel it back, like, it's like if we really dissect our hearts, like we want that, like, oh, we want people to say, you look beautiful because
right,
that is a reflection of us.
right.
But I think as a mom, we can all identify with that. We want our child to have the lead role or be the star player or whatever, because it's like glory to us.
Yeah. Yeah, and what do we do with that though? I mean, because some of that's just like I feel some of that is healthy, right? Like there's a little tiny bit of that that's like it's healthy to be excited about our kids' successes,
Sure.
right? But like, how do we know when we've crossed that line into like, okay, no, you need to be the star now because mom's reputation's on the line. I mean, there is a line that that can be crossed. Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it makes me think of Paul Tripp's analogy of the closed fist or open palms. I don't know if
Mhm.
you're familiar with that,
Mhm.
but I mean, just kind of his litmus test for identifying is something a ruling idol. Because you're right,
Yeah.
so easily, like our desires can be fine. We can have good desires. Like there's no problem with, yes, we want our kid to do well and maybe to get that role in the play, whatever it is. But now, if all of a sudden I close my fist tight around it and they have to have it, and if they don't have it, that they're not enough, or I'm not okay, or I'm swirling and like, what are, people aren't going to think as highly of us. Like it's all about like, what is our motivation? What is our
Yeah.
focus? So
Yeah.
I think that can help us to decide like, okay, this is fine. Of course, we're excited for our kids and their different activities and successes.
Yeah. Yeah. Asking ourselves that question. Like, why do I need this? Is this something I need? Is need the word I'm using? Like what's going
Right.
on there? That's good. Well, when it comes to, I don't know, let's categorize it as like fixing. I don't know. This has been a big one for me, Kristen. I'd love to hear like your thoughts on this. I realized, and honestly, like just within the last couple of months, I've been having conversations with a friend who's having her first baby
Mm.
as I am about to graduate my first. And
Uh-huh.
I don't know if this happens for everyone. You can confirm this perhaps, but like something weird is happening this year for me with a
Yes.
senior. Oh my goodness, I'm going to get emotional about it. See,
Yes.
this is the weird thing that's happening. But
Yes. Yes.
it's
You're not alone. This is very normal
it,
for, yes.
but it's like you spend, I don't know, for me it's spending the whole year like thinking about like how have I raised him? What have I done? What parenting things could have been better? What did we miss? But as I'm talking to this friend who's a new mom, and I'm hearing her talk through things that I know I walked through, like, trying to breastfeed better or, make nap schedules better and all of those things that you try to tweak when you have a baby. I'm hearing her say those things and I'm thinking about my own parenting journey and how much, especially with the firstborn, it was about tweaking. It was about fixing. It was, oh, you're sneezing. You must have allergies. Now we must go to the allergist. Now we must find out if there's something wrong with you and we must fix that thing. And I feel like it's been a journey of, or maybe, I don't know, maybe this is just parenting in general, has been a journey of like, oh, like how much are things that I'm supposed to help fix, right? Because if he seriously has allergies, there's nothing wrong with getting
Right.
some
Right.
help
You
there,
want to
right?
help.
Right.
That. Sure.
So it's like what is the role as our kids grow for a mom and how do you I hate the word balance, Kristen, like that's a personal pet peeve of mine, but how do you manage the like there's areas where they do need some shaping, right? They may need some fashion advice, right? And then there's areas where I just have to let them explore it on their own. Like
Mm.
that was a huge like $1 million question there, but like I don't know, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Again, I feel like it goes back to what is it that we, or what are we trying to control perhaps, or what can we not be okay just letting them maybe fail or experience things, or being okay that maybe we didn't teach them everything they needed to know, or they need to experience something on their own. I mean, we have to have so much grace and self-compassion for ourselves because we do the best we can. But I'm with you. I see a lot in counseling, a lot of young moms who are trying to get it perfect, and as if that is going to produce a perfect child, and there are no formulas. And
Yeah.
so much of God's plan for us is, well, we know scripture's clear, we are going to have trials and suffering,
Mm,
there are going to be hard things. So even if we could do everything perfectly and everything right, our
yeah.
child is going to still struggle. But God has us in mind too with that. And I see, like, for me personally, I have grown. I'm a totally different person than I was 26 years ago when my
Mm,
firstborn was born, even I would say 5 or 10 years ago, because of the sanctification journey that as my kids have struggled and we've dealt with different issues, God has worked on me and led me to be more dependent on Him, because I
mm.
realize more now than I did 26 years ago that He's in control, not me. And that
Right.
sometimes the journey for our kids includes really hard things, but it's about them and it's about me because God's doing a work in me. And so for that,
Yeah.
I'm grateful. And I think that's what makes it hard about telling someone who is going to be a new mom or someone who is earlier in the journey, because they kind of have to learn it themselves too. I mean, we
That's
can
true.
tell them, right?
That's true.
But until you go through it yourself, it's
Right.
hard to really rest in, like, okay, I do trust God a little better than I did
Yeah.
10 years ago because I see his goodness even in the hard things. I see how it
Right.
shaped my kids and me.
Right. And everything you just said, I think, can be applied to a body image journey as well, right?
Yes,
Because it
yes.
is moving from that belief of I can do everything right if I just eat all the right things and I exercise the right way, which, that becomes a mess in and of itself because things keep changing culturally as to what the right way to eat is or the right
Mhm.
exercise is, right? So frustration in and of itself there. But if I can just do everything right, then the outcome will be free of trials and tribulations. I will
Mhm.
be able to avoid struggle, and, be it like the struggle of whether or not people will accept me or, whether or not I'll accept myself. I think a lot of people get hung up there, right? It's very much the same, isn't it?
It is. It is. I mean, we're longing for Eden. We want to be happy. And we think if we can control our bodies or we can control situations or our children, that we will be in this perpetual peace. But that's not where God says that we will find peace. Like we're trying to stuff the hole in our soul with these things that are not going to satisfy. And that's what happens, right? We might lose weight, but then it's not enough. Or now we have to maintain it. So we're still anxious about it. And I would
Right.
say too that when we're hyper focused or self absorbed, whether it's with our own body image or it's our kids' perfection, whatever it is, like we are missing out on being present and
Mhm.
connecting with our children or with other people. And I see this especially with my eating disorder clients, and also those that just caught in a comparison trap in general. And so I just think about like for the mom that is consumed with her own appearance and the need to measure up to a certain standard, it's not just that we put that on our kids, but we become detached from our kids because we're just so self-focused. And so I talk a
Yeah.
lot to parents about the importance of intentional connection. Well, we
Mhm.
can't have intentional connection if we are so in our heads and that we're not fully present. And our kids kind of pick up on that, even if
Yeah.
it's inadvertently.
Yeah. Okay, so help us with that, Kristen. So there's someone listening today and they're like, "Oh, she's right." Like, is there a first step to intentional connection?
Well, intentional connection, I would say, takes, I mean, it takes being deliberate, right? Like we can't
Mhm.
be intentional if we are multitasking. We're not being intentional just because we're in the same house or car with our child. I mean, and
Mhm.
research tells us that just 10 minutes a day of intentional connection, and I'm talking about like eyes on, like focus, putting the other stuff away. And
Mhm.
sometimes, of course, our kids come to us and they want to say something, and we are cooking dinner and we can't
Mhm.
be intentionally devoted to them in that moment. So we say, what you're saying is really important to me. So, after we eat dinner and clean up the kitchen, I want to sit down and hear this. But
Yeah.
I think instead, and I'm so guilty of this. I mean, this is, gosh, been a journey for me because I am always multitasking. And at the time that my boys, especially, were growing up, I was, had manuscript deadlines due. And so I
Mhm.
was just on my laptop and I would not be like actively listening to them because I'm maybe kind of listening, half listening, but I'm not
Mhm.
looking at them. And I missed body language that I could have picked up on,
Mhm.
like they're not well or they're trying to tell me something that they're not telling me. So it starts with us. I always say that parenting starts with our own
Mhm.
hearts. And so we've
Yeah.
got to check our own hearts, like, and see that like if we are so self-absorbed, whether it's with our appearance or something else, like, Lord, help me to see that is sinfully taking away from my children. Like I
Mhm.
cannot be present when I am stuck in self.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And what about the mom who maybe she's in the same place I'm at, but it's not her first graduating, it's her last graduating,
Yeah.
or they're gone.
Yeah.
And she's listening and she's thinking, I spent that 20 years. I spent that, 30 years focused on me, trying to
Mhm.
lose the weight, chasing the goal. Can we encourage her today, Kristen? What are you thinking?
Absolutely. I always say it's never too late. Like even if our kids are gone or they're soon going to be gone, we can hear this. And I mean, God's a God of redemption, right?
Right.
And so what does it take? It takes maybe going to them and saying, I am so sorry. I'm just now recognizing this. Would you please forgive
Mm,
me? And be specific. Like this was ruling me, and you may or may
mm,
not have noticed or known, but I'm seeing it now, and I want to do things differently. one of my books is Parenting Ahead, and it's written for parents before the teen years. But I've had so many parents who are like have older kids or out of the house kids, and they've read it and they are recognizing some of these things. And I'm like, that repair work is so important. Like your relationship does not have to stay stuck, or you don't have to live in shame and regret
Mm.
of what you didn't do. This is God's journey. And so go to that child and confess and let it be
Yeah.
made new.
Yeah. I love that. And I have a coaching client. I'm going to try to keep the details vague because I didn't ask for her permission to share this. But she's let's say her children have been out of the home for a while. And she worked with me for a while and got some help around eating disorders for a while and went to her daughter especially and apologized, like you said.
Mhm.
And it's just been really neat to witness and
Mm.
hear her talk about just this restored relationship with her kids and even her son recognizing, like, Mom, I like you better now. Like, Mom,
Mhm.
like, you're so much freer now. You're happier now. You're not always talking about food and weight loss now. Like, Mom, this is great. And then being inspired really in their own faith walks too,
Mhm.
to see
I
a
love
mom who's
that.
like, kind of come out of, I don't know, come out of the darkness of, just self-pursuit, self-improvement pursuit into the light of, no, actually there's more to live for. Getting a better body.
Yeah. And just think that gives them permission to do the same. Like it might not be
Yeah.
something in their life now, but when they've seen a parent go first, then they
Mhm.
have the courage or see, like, I don't have to live if I recognize like something's enslaving me. I can come clean too.
Yeah.
And I think too, I hear this from clients all the time of all different ages, that what a difference it would make just to hear their parents say, I'm sorry.
Mm.
That they want to give forgiveness and grace. They
Yeah.
want a good relationship. And so
Right.
it would take so little, but I know for the one, it takes a lot of courage to humble
Mhm.
ourselves and go to someone and admit that we
Right.
failed them or that we've hurt them and that we
Right.
need forgiveness.
Right. And to trust God, I think, for, that verse, I always forget where it is. It's either Jeremiah or Lamentations. It's so awful. I quote it all the time and that I can never remember the reference, but it's that, the Lord will restore the years that the locusts have eaten.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think the natural tendency perhaps is to kind of wallow in wasted time. I wasted it. I missed it. I messed up. And I think what God wants from us, right, is for us to trust him that he can restore, that he can, like, as you said, bring that redemption, that he's not going to let that be wasted time, that there will be some good for his glory that will come of that. So, yeah, I hope that's encouraging to someone listening. Thanks for
Yeah,
that.
sure. Yeah, we're never without hope for that. So praise the
Absolutely.
Lord.
Well, hey, you're going to come back. And in the next episode, we're going to talk about this big mess of how do you help daughters. And I don't know, I said daughters, but it's really boys and girls now, isn't it?
It is. It is.
But, you know, I think we can feel especially powerless when we're dealing with these issues ourselves, right? And then to watch our kids deal with them. and and I mean, I talk to moms all the time. They're like, I feel a little bit like a hypocrite. I'm like, hey, don't worry, you're skinny enough. You're already pretty. Don't worry about it. And then I'm saying to myself secretly in my head, you need to lose weight. You're not good enough. And so sorting that out for ourselves is one thing, but then sorting that out like with kids at home who are maybe in a real battle is another thing. So I'm excited that you're going to come back and we're going to talk about how to help our kids in that way.
It'll
Tell
be
us,
good. It's needed.
yeah. So, okay, as we close up today, you've written a bunch of books. So, can you just tell everyone what those books are? They're mostly parenting books, right, Kristen?
Actually, just the last one. So,
Oh,
Parenting Ahead is for parents. My first three were for teenagers.
oh,
That's what led me into writing. So, I have some Bible study devotional books, and then one on this related topic, FaceTime Your Identity in a Selfie World. And that one is specifically for girls. And it was born in a sense out of my daughter's eating disorder, but it's not specifically just eating disorder. It's all sorts of just different issues that teen girls deal with. But then
awesome.
how do we replace the lies with truth.
Awesome. That's fantastic. And tell everyone where they can connect with you, Kristen.
Sure. I am on Instagram at Redemptive Parenting. My website is my name, Kristen, Kristen, Hatton, Hatton. And my books are all published by New Growth Press and available also on Amazon.
So, well, thanks so much for being here. Can't wait for our next conversation. So
Me too.
until I see you again, thank you.
Right. Thanks, Heather.
And thank you for watching or listening today. I hope something today has helped you stop comparing and start living. Bye-bye.